Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. First of all, happy holidays. Hey, Shannon, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm glad to be with you guys on Christmas Eve.
Yes, it is Christmas Eve. It is holiday Eve. It is whatever Eve you want the Eve to be.
Yes, and really it's just enjoying the holidays and, being together. However, whatever your traditions are this time of year, we're happy to be a part of it.
Exactamente so. Now, folks, before I even get started, I'm going to give you a little thing saying we are in what we call on-fun drive kind of a mode. What I'm really saying is that we're keeping our programming going, but we're asking you to go to kpft.org and hit that tip jar and become a part of the family, because we don't want to just stop things and start collecting or constantly asking. So we're trying something new. We want you to keep us on air while we continue to give you the great programming that we give you all of the times. Now, look, today, what are we going to discuss? Shannon, what are we going to discuss?
We're going to discuss our serious traffic situation, not only here, but a little bit of your global perspective, but it definitely touches close to home because I'm in traffic.
I know.
An hour and a half to 2 hours a day.
Yes, but I tell you, Shannon, what I want to do is I kind of use traffic as sort of a segue into politics, because so goes traffic, so goes our freedom, so goes our choice, so goes all these other things.
And what causes traffic, really?
Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about. So, folks, today I'll discuss traffic jams. You might be asking, what do traffic jams have to do with politics done right? Well, traffic jams are caused by politics done very, very wrong. After seeing traffic jams in Panamá City, Panama this week, I really started thinking about its real causes. Very few will discuss in the terms we are discussing it today. It is a quality of life issue. It is a wage theft issue. But before I begin the program, I want to remind all of our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. So, as a political activist, my favorites are The Monitor with Mark Bebawi on Mondays at 7 p.m., Think Wing Radio with Mike Honig on Mondays at 9 p.m., Partisan Gridlock with Jeff Berg on Fridays at 3 p.m., and of course my buddy, Jazz Latino, which is Afro-Cuban Latin jazz, at its very best, hosted by Juan Flores on Mondays at 10 p.m., and there's another show that I'm bringing into the fold. I think, what is it called? Brother Evans' show. What is it called again?
I believe it's Conscious Mindset.
Conscious Mindset. I haven't really added that to my blog yet, but I will be shortly.
He has a lot of fans. I got a lot of calls that day. How excited people were to have you both on the air at the same time.
I think it is great. I think he's a great, I love his show. I listened to it the first time.
He's a powerful speaker.
Absolutely. So look, folks, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is listener-supported public community radio, so please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by the corporatocracy. And I see Sherry is in here with us. She's going to be giving you the news right after we leave the Politics Done Right show. So, folks, this is KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston, Texas. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your thoughts. Let's talk I'll also be following our hashtag Politics Done Right on Twitter, Egberto Willies. You can listen to the live stream or listen to the podcast, vlogcast, and all that good stuff. But do remember, give me a call, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. And I love hearing from you. But folks, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Well, I found myself flying to Panama, the country of my birth, before any of my other folks say, no, folks, I am a U.S. citizen. I was born in Panama. Yes, I'm a naturalized citizen. So don't start. I know what you're going to say on the internet. Okay, so that's taken care of. Now, I was home for some personal reasons, and I won't go into that right now, but one of the interesting things is what I saw when I got down there, and it got me into thinking, and for those who listen, you know how my thought process works, but here it goes. I titled it, Employers Should Pay for Employee Commute. Traffic jams. Traffic jams can be indirectly attributed to employers. In the process of coming back, folks, I got a cold, so if I have to stop and do a little coughing, bear with me, but I'll try to be very discreet. Here we go. Are you tired of traffic jams? Why do we have traffic jams? To put it bluntly, because the only one who suffers the real cost of traffic jams are whom? The masses. The only people that suffer are the middle class and the poor. The rich can use helicopters or be driven in fully functional mobile offices. You know, I just got back from Panamá City, Panama, after attending a dear aunt's funeral. I landed in the Tocumen International Airport in Panama about 3 p.m. The traffic leaving the airport was horrendous, terrible, horrible. I had not been in Panama for 5 years. The traffic has always been bad. You know, while flying in, it was amazing how different the skyline is after just 5 years. I was just amazed at my country of birth having a skyline that rivaled Houston, New York, or Shanghai. I wondered who could possibly be living and working in the thousands of units in the center of the city. Who? Did the masses suddenly get large pay increases? Did the masses start getting paid their real worth? Of course not. As my cousin drove through the traffic jam, I started asking a slew of questions. My cousin is an ad measurer for the Panama Canal. I mean, he determines how much a ship is going to pay to transit the canal. The amounts are mind-boggling. The canal workers have prize jobs. They get U.S.-type wages. However, the masses make very little. $500 a month for a secretary is not unheard of. Canal workers and some professionals can generally afford to live in or close to Panama City. Most others cannot. They must live many miles away from town. The roads to get into town are congested. Congestions can begin as early as 4 a.m. Some may spend 3 hours in their cars trying to travel under 60 kilometers or so. Some areas have toll roads. Some of the toll rates would be equivalent to more than half a user's daily income. As such, many of these roads are empty, driven mostly by those with nice or luxury cars. Look, Panama has a severe case of traffic jams, but throughout the world, including here in the United States, in Houston, in Austin, everywhere, the masses are forced into this condition on a daily basis. It causes stress. It robs time away from our loved ones. It cheats us of a life that should be much better. That should be much better. Think about that. If the cost of systemic traffic jams were being placed on those who are ultimately responsible for them, we would have better roads, better public transportation, and better paid employees. But how? 60 Minutes interviewed Apple's Tim Cook. They covered major corporations keeping their money overseas in order to avoid U.S. taxes. They spoke about lack of skilled workers in the United States in the same context. what they fail to cover is how successful tax avoidance by corporations and the wealthy are making lives miserable. Whose lives miserable? Our lives miserable. The masses cannot afford to live close to the employers. They are forced to commute to serve the rich and their employer on their own dime. In other words, the employer implicitly forces them to live far away from their place of employment, and the time necessary to go to serve the employer is not compensated but required. America needs a paradigm shift. Think about that. We need a complete paradigm shift. America needs to re-educate ourselves. We have been programmed to be the wards of the state and the corporation. We have been programmed to not notice that we are indentured servants. We have been programmed to believe that those people that work for are more deserving of comfort or a reward in life than we are. No, they're not. They're not justified to have a more reward in life than we are. They're not more justified to be able to live closer to home. None of that is true. Of course, we've taught ourselves to believe that the fortunate is fortunate not because of good fortune, but because of implicit beliefs that they're inherently deserving of it. Completely, entirely false. The acceptance of traffic jams as a way of life. The acceptance of poor health care as a way of life. The acceptance of poor vacation policies as a way of life. The acceptance of substandard child care as a way of life. And many other things we should never accept are being accepted without any real fight, without any real pushback, without anyone trying to say, why is life designed the way it is? Why are we living in the state that we're living in? Why are we allowing ourselves to simply exist in what someone else is willing to just let us have? Look, many of those who attempt to make things better are maligned because of the indoctrination within an economic system that is progressively failing most of us. When we fix traffic jams, we would have likely fixed most of our problems. Let's get busy in 2016. You think that is kind of crazy? Do you think when I say let's fix traffic jams and we fix a whole lot, it is all that crazy? Let me tell you. Traffic jams, people just look at it as an inconvenience. They don't look at it as being something systemic and causal because of the behavior of our corporate beings, our government maligned, bought by the corpse. They don't think about it. They think of it as it's just something they have to go through. No, it's not just something one has to go through. It is manufactured and we pay for it. Folks, the number is 713-526-5738. Happy Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas Eve, or whatever it is. Merry holiday, happy holiday, and the permutations thereof. But give me a call, 713-526-5738. Lines are wide open. I know it's kind of an easy day, so give me a call. Now I have somebody on. I think that is
Brother John.
Brother John, come on in.
How you doing, Egberto?
I am doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
I don't have much to comment on the traffic because it's been like 30 years since I commuted out in San Francisco Bay Area.
Must be nice.
But I did want to give you my condolences on your aunt's passing.
Well, thank you, sir. I really do appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd be in. My mother passed about the same time, 8 years ago. She was killed, and I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, I was with you on the plane. I was with you in Panama. So.
Thank you, sir. I really do appreciate that, my friend. I really do appreciate that. So,
yeah, but that's really all I got to say, But I mean, I'm not out of agreement with you on your blog there. As far as that's concerned. Bad city planning. When they invite corporations to come in, they can estimate basically what it's got to be, but they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Well, you know, one of the things that I try to put across in the blog is, and one of the reasons why I said when we solve our traffic problems, we would have solved a whole lot of other problems, is because that is one of the last problems people are going to probably be looking at. And people don't really see the reality of who is causal when we have traffic of this type. So that is what I want to get across. I want to get across, you know, a lot of times we accept things that we don't see. We accept things.
Well, that's the way it is. What can you do about it? I mean, of course, that's what they want you to think. That's the whole idea. That's part of the de-education, you know.
You're correct.
You know,
You're correct. Brother John,
so.
Thank you very much for your call, my dear brother, and thank you for the condolences.
Yeah, you take care.
You have a wonderful day, sir. Have a good one. Mm-hmm. Let's go to line number 2. Thomas, come on in, my brother.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah, I don't agree with anything you're saying right now.
Okay, sure. Let's talk about it.
I mean, you're talking about child care, health care, all this other stuff. If you're poor, you get all that for free anyways. So here I am working every week, 6-7 days a week, work 60 to 70 hours a week.
Right.
So I can do this on my own. But if I choose not to, I can just be a lazy bum and get all this for free.
Okay. Is that your main disagreement with pretty much what I was talking about? Free
health care. Who's that for? Low income. First of all, if you can't afford to have a kid, you shouldn't have one. And if you decide to have one, every time you have one more, you have 4 or 5 kids. And they're like, oh, the more kids I have, the bigger check I get from the government. So why is it my responsibility when I'm busting my tail to take care of myself? Why do I have to worry about them? Because they just want to live off the system.
Okay, let me come in to talk to you right now, because I know exactly what you're saying, and that is really the discussion that a lot of people like to on a blog like what I've just done, right? A lot of people would put out exactly what you're saying, and if it really were the way you were saying it, Thomas.
Really were? I'm talking to you about my real life situation. I'm not typing away on the computer. I'm telling you how it is for me.
No, I understand. You're a worker.
Do you know what hard work is about?
Yes, absolutely. I understand that.
So if I want to go on welfare or just work some minimum wage job and just bust out a bunch of kids and never, ever pay for the bills for having that kid, it's like I'm entitled. I get free daycare, I get a phone, I get Section 8 housing. What is the point?
All right, let me stop you right there and ask you a question.
Why don't we all just go on the system?
No.
Would that make you happy?
No. Let me ask you something. I just made you give your point of view, and I really do understand that a lot of people take that direction, and they actually believe that direction. Now, let me tell you the direction.
It's reality.
Let me finish.
I have people in my family that are living off the system.
I understand that.
Let me give you an example. I have a cousin with 5 kids. She hasn't worked in over 10 years.
I understand that.
You think that's acceptable?
No, it's not. But again, you have to give me a chance to give an explanation. And here it goes. First of all, there are people that are systemically, I don't want to say useless, but will always be on the dole. There are a certain percentage that will always be on the dole. There are a certain percentage who know better. One of the things that we've done as a society in all the cuts that we've made in the early 80s, late 70s, etc., is we've stopped teaching people how to be good United States citizens. We have stopped teaching people civics in school. We've cut a lot of these classes that taught folks how to be self-sufficient. And then now that we're in a period where there are a lot of people that are not self-sufficient, we sit down and complain. So what I'm trying to tell you is the following, okay? I'm trying to tell you, if we create a social structure in such a manner that the 5 children, the family member that you have who has 5 children and who just want to sit home and not work, there are reasons within our social structure that makes that possible. But there are solutions to allow your family member, who is, as far as you're concerned, is currently a slough off, to find rewarding work, because there's a social safety net that ensures that she can work and her kids not have to be not taken care of, etc. There are things we can do as a society to make things better. What happens, however, is we have people who just look at the outside, the outer things that you just looked at. When you said she's just sitting home, lazy, and not doing what she's supposed to do, and you as a hard worker, and by the way, I'm not taking anything away from you as a very hard worker, you feel like you're paying for her. I'm saying it's not black or white. It is how do we create the society that makes your family member that you spoke about not want to be that way, and it can be done. The problem is nobody wants to invest into doing what's necessary. Now, when it comes back to what you disagree with my blog, I'm sort of at a loss. So I would like you. I mean, my blog wasn't specifically on welfare and that sort of thing, even though I just got into that. I would love to hear specifically on my on the post that I made. What do you think is pretty much wrong in your eyes?
No, I didn't read your blog. I just turned on the radio and listening to the comments that you were just expressing.
Yeah, maybe you saw. Maybe you only heard the ending part, and that's the reason why we're having this sort of a thing. But what I'm trying to tell you is as follows: we have to get away from as a people, as a country, as a society. We have to get away from marginalizing those folks that you feel are simply on the dole and take.
What are we supposed to do with them?
Let me tell you. That's what I'm about to. Do you want to solve that problem or don't you? I think you sound like somebody who would love to solve that problem. And if you want to solve that problem, you first create the structures that's going to that allow that person to go to work. You know, when I just talked about traffic, right? About somebody can't live within this. And I'm coming to you next, Doug. I just want to kind of clear this up because I think this is a pretty interesting conversation I'm having here. And by the way, folks, we have more lines open, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Coming back to you again, Thomas, here's what I'm trying to say. Going back to my blog, we're talking about how heavy traffic is, and I believe employers should be compensating people for having a 2-hour commute because they can't afford to live in the city. I went into a lot of details about that, but I can go in further some other time. But here's the deal. If people who are currently on the dole had a way that the kids that they have could be taken care of as they go work, and if we went back in our classrooms and started teaching, put the money into schools and started teaching kids how things that they should be getting at home but they're not, how to be good citizens, good productive citizens, over time we would solve the problem. But simply saying I'm going to cut them from welfare or I'm going to cut this doesn't solve the problem, because what you do, every human being, every living creature on earth, whenever they are cut off something, they try to survive. And trying to survive is also a possibility of affecting crime. So what I'm saying is you have to look at the very big picture. It irks you to see somebody that is out there on the dole. It irks just about everybody. When you look at it systemically, however, you can say, okay, I am going to try these different types of programs so that folks like the family member you're talking about, or my family member that is on the dole, or anybody's family member that is on the dole, we work on programs to get them off. Yes, go ahead.
The thing is, those programs are all out there for people that have had a hardship in their life.
Yes.
You don't turn it into a lifestyle. And you see now 3-4 generations of families that have just accepted that as a lifestyle.
You're right.
You can't tell them.
Thomas,
if you really want it, you can't go out there and get it.
Thomas,
you can do it.
Here's the problem. You and I think that we need to get people off the dole. I want to find a solution to do it. I just don't want to criticize folks. I want to find a solution on how to do it that will work. That's it. So what I'm saying is folks like yourself, and I one of the problems I have with a lot of folks on the conservative leaning side is, they're good at defining a problem. The thing about it is how you solve the problem. I want to solve the problem. I understand what you're saying. I want to solve the problem. And what I'm actually saying, my friend, is that yes, if we work together, there are solutions to have. Now I'm getting the word from Shannon that I have to go to break. So look, I really appreciate your call. Keep listening and try to follow what I'm saying, because I'm sure we're on the same wavelength. All right, brother?
Yeah, man.
You take care.
All right. Thank you, Berto. All right. Our roadways are as clear can be. Thank goodness, because it is Christmas Eve. A little bit of slow going, just a tad on the Southwest Freeway, and that's from 288 to Shepherd outbound. But besides that, there is not much going on. A little bit of slow going as well on Highway 6 in both directions from Beech Nut to Westheimer and northbound from Clay to West. It is currently 80 degrees and overcast skies here in the heart of Montrose. With Houston humidity at 82%, it feels like 83 degrees. 50% chance of scattered thunderstorms in the forecast through tomorrow, and expect dense fog tonight and a low of 71 degrees. High of 81 degrees on Christmas Day. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to Politics Done Right on KPFT Houston 90.1.
Muchísimas gracias, Shannon. Okay, Shannon, let's go to Senor Doug on line number 3. Doug, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. You want to make a point?
Yeah, first of all, I really like your thoughts about traffic, and I completely agree. It's a regressive taxation system that benefits the wealthy way more than it does.
You know what? Let me tell you something, Doug. I am so sorry I hadn't spoken to you before, because I would have used that regressive tax line in there as well, because isn't that a perfect line?
That was well said. Well said
indeed. That was so
indeed.
well said. Great, Doug. Anyway, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I think about it is consider who benefits from the roads. You and I, as consumers, we use the car to get to work, and we use it to get to the grocery store and things like that. So there's a benefit for us without any doubt.
Right.
But the store owner relies on those roads to supply thousands of customers per week to his place of business. Without the roads, he wouldn't even have a business.
Right.
So in fact, it's a subsidy to that guy that he only has to pay the $89 a year, whatever his excise tax on his car is.
Exactly. I mean,
all right, now
you
I'd
see
like
the
to make
picture,
one-
brother. You see the picture.
Can I make one more point?
Yes, sir.
There is a principle in accounting called goodwill.
I know what it is. Go ahead. Explain it. I tell you what, you need to explain that concept to people, though, because a lot of people don't quite get it. So go ahead and do that.
So it's the idea that your investment in advertising and philanthropy and other things that you invest in as a corporation that don't provide a direct return do in fact provide some kind of a return. So it's kind of an estimation on your balance sheet what those items are worth.
Right.
In the United States, the country of the United States, it has value as goodwill. It has value. It has a society, a political system, a financial system that makes foreigners want to come and live here. And we give that goodwill away. That goodwill is owned by every individual in the country because we all help make this society what it is. And yet, we give it away when we allow, say, a baseball player to come to the United States and pay only, 30% tax rate, when the value of that ball player's salary in the United States relative to his alternatives is probably worth 60 or 70%. So we just give that item away all the time, and people should be upset about that.
Doug, I could not have put that any better. I'm not only putting that for the baseball player who comes into the country. I'm putting that on Bill Gates. I'm putting that on the Walton family. I'm putting that on everything because, I like to follow the Bill Gates story a whole lot. And one of the good things about, and I'm coming to you after Jack. And folks, we still have open line 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738 that you can give us a call and we'll be able to get to your call. Now, the reason I like to use a lot of the multi-billionaires as examples, right, is I can track and ask how are they really worth what you claim they're worth when all of the monies that they have are really as a part of what I call the excess labor from everybody else. Because everybody who made, the person who invented MS-DOS wasn't, that got Bill, well.
Yeah, and you're also forgetting another huge freebie, which is called luck.
Exactly.
I mean, if Bill Gates had been born in China, he wouldn't even had a computer to play with in high school. He'd probably still be a wealthy man, but he wouldn't be a quadrillionaire.
And what's great is when you brought in the concept of goodwill, that was one of the slickest thing to bring in, or I shouldn't say slickest, the right thing to bring in, because a lot of that has to do with how we got where we are as well. So you're absolutely right about that, Doug. So I mean, the thing about it is we have to look at society society as a whole and what folks have really brought to society and what they have taken out of society. There was I don't remember who told me this. I've always believed we should have a minimum wage. Actually, it should be a livable wage, but also a maximum wage. People scoff at that. But on another show, I'm going to go into detail why we actually need a maximum wage as well because of an aberration within capitalism. But that is beyond the scope of this show right now. But I just want to, for my listeners, my regular listeners, to keep that on the tip of your tongue.
I look forward to hearing about that. And donate to KPFT. I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate that plug, sir. And folks, as thank you very much. And let's go to line number one. Line number one. Let's see, who do I have here? That looks like Jack. How you doing, Jack?
Yes, good afternoon.
Great. Jack, let me ask you to hold one quick second. Let me tell folks. Folks, remember we are in our on drive at this point in time. What we're trying to do is not stop our regular programming as we ask people to go to our website, kpft.org, and go ahead and join, become a member, give a donation for our show to ensure that we stay on air. We're a little bit off track so far in the gains for the month of December, so we do need your help. So please go ahead and go to kpft.org and give a gift to the station. And I trust that you will give in the name of Politics Done Right. Remember, we're all volunteers here, but it's nice to have it done in the name of Politics Done Right. Anyhow, talk to me, my friend.
Yes, I was listening with interest to the conversation before the last one.
Yes, with the person who
the hardworking gentleman who was concerned, for lack of a better word, about the situation within his family and what he sees in society.
Right.
During that conversation, you made a statement saying that, I believe you said in the 1980s, we, collectively, created a system or a society or a factor in society that allowed people to essentially live off the dole if they chose to. Am I misquoting?
No, you're not misquoting. I mean, I said that sort of off the cuff. I really should get into more detail on that. I was just sort of hitting the numbers. I probably should have brought in some other issues because you have to remember between then and when President Clinton signed the, I don't remember the name of the act, that we had some issues with that. But go ahead and make your point, my friend, and I can move on from there.
First off, I frankly think it certainly started long before the 80s.
Yes.
Okay, and it is a result of legislation and actions by our central government that have helped create that. All right. Now, if I understand your position correctly, and politically, I guess, isn't the same portion of our central government over the decades that created that system precisely the liberal, socialist, for lack of a better word, left-wing approach of government controlling most everything? If they created in the first place, why would more of the same kind of government now be of any benefit? It goes against all logic.
Well, I love the way you say that. I mean, it really, if you take a look at the Great Society actually worked, don't you think?
You mean under Johnson?
No, well, actually, before Johnson had the Great Society, but I mean, under Roosevelt, okay, when we created all these programs that actually created a middle class, don't you think that is what created our middle class?
Well, I think you have to recognize that Roosevelt's terms were during an economic crisis of major proportion worldwide.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
All right, and his position with steps that were remedial.
Right.
Okay, to satisfy. If you're hemorrhaging, the first thing you have to do is to stop the bleeding.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, it's been carried forward when those situations had disappeared, and not only gone forward and carried forward, it's been enhanced and added to. So what I'm asking is, if I understand you correctly, you would prefer to see a central government that could legislate more of the same.
No,
I don't get it.
No, I wouldn't do that.
If people of the liberal and socialist persuasion are running the show,
right,
and they're the ones that, by your own admission, created this thing in society to begin with, okay, why would we want more of the same?
Okay,
it's an honest question.
Yeah, and you know what? I love these types of questions. I mean, I don't want a yes crowd. I don't want a crowd that just say, I agree with you. And you've actually asked a very probing question. And I think actually a darn good question, to be honest with you. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, it is patently unfair, however, to look at this society we have and say that it was done by, let's say, the whole bunch of socialist liberal lefties. And by the way, I don't take that as an offensive term. If you called me a socialist liberal lefty, actually, I don't mind wearing that sort of that nomenclature with pride, right? Because all it means is I believe in doing what's right towards people, using society to do that. So now how to do it right is a different story, right? If you are a libertarian, you know, a lot of your tenets would be, look, you can do this all on your own and everything is fine. If you are maybe more Republican, you want a little bit less government, etc., etc., etc. Here's my tenet, and I'll be frank with you. The same put down that you have as far as some of the programs created in the 70s, I have. And let me give a good example. I think a lot of the welfare programs were responsible for the destruction of the black family. Think about that, okay? I agree with you there. Why? Because of the things that women had to go through to say and get monies for survival. The man had to be out of the house, etc., etc., etc. So I agree with you there. Not because there were failures in putting a system together mean that the ultimate goal of the system is wrong. And what I'm saying is, as human beings, as having a society, what we should do is work together to have programs that fix intrinsic problems. We do have intrinsic problems. The conservative methodology does not seem to have answers to those questions. The liberal methodologies of the past do not have all the answers, but it sure as hell had quite a bit of the answers that were quite successful. Some not so much, but some are. What am I telling you here? I'm telling you this. I do not mind somebody like yourself sitting down at a table with me, and I come out and I say, I want to ensure that we have policies that do this, this, and that. And you come and you tell me why those particular policies would cause particular problems, and then how to adjust those policies to make it do what we want it to do. What we have in society right now, however, is you versus me. I'm not looking for that. I want to come out and say, I want universal health care. What is your problem with universal health care? Let's talk about how we can solve the problems that you think are problems and still satisfy the needs that I have. And it is possible because it is done elsewhere. So we don't need to sit down between you and me. I forgot your name. Jack. Yeah. And we don't need to sit down here and have a fight. What we need to sit down here is say, okay, I want this. Not that it's liberal, left, socialist, or whatever, and you are maybe, I don't know if you're right wing or moderate or whatever you are. It doesn't matter to me. That we can sit down and say, this is what we have to get done. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Now, just as you proudly carry the label of left and socialist.
Yes.
I, as a first-generation American, proudly carry the label of first patriot.
Okay,
and two,
fine.
Right wing.
Fine. And you know what? Some of my best friends in Kingwood are the Tea Party right-wingers, and we sit down and break bread. So it's no big deal. But what we have to do is talk. You get what I'm talking about?
Yes, but I'm trying to understand.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not a social scientist.
Sure.
Okay. I'm trying to understand what your proposal in general would be. I don't mean in the specific of fixing welfare.
Okay. Let me tell you what my proposal.
But what method?
Let me give you an example.
Keynesian economics?
Let me give you an example.
What are we talking about?
Okay, I study economics. Okay, I did study economics. I understand the capitalist system fully. I understand what I think needs to be done. Actually, I wrote a book on that. But here's my deal. What I think we need to do. In my humble opinion, what we should do is we should have a system where we have universal health care, Number one, we need to remove healthcare completely from the domain of employers. Why? Because that gives people the ability to move freely and use their own well-being to create their own businesses, etc., and not have to depend on any entity. I'm 100% believing in free enterprise. My contention is the way our structures are today, somebody who wants to have a real free enterprise type business cannot, because they're actually held back by things like not having universal health care, not if they have kids being able to have their kids in a safe place as they develop the products that they want to develop, as they have the services that they have. So what I'm saying is we work in concert with people so that we can have a social safety net that gives people the wherewithal to do what they need to do. Will it require taxes? Absolutely. Are taxes detrimental? Absolutely not. I can go into that on another topic, but I can't do it today because now my lines are filled up. But you see where I'm coming from. I think you kind of get an idea where I'm coming from. We can discuss this further if you want to go beyond this at politicsdoneright.com or the website or Facebook page Politics Done Right. I would love to do that. Okay?
Okay, just one last moment.
Yes, sir.
All right, the we that you're talking about.
All of us.
Getting it straightened out. Okay, you said we work with them.
Right.
Okay. All right. Obviously, you're not talking a populist philosophy.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so what? That's a populist. Well, who's going to put together the national health care?
We are.
That's not an individual.
No, we are. And there are ways that can be done where we crowdsource things. You see, a lot of folks don't realize we have the power to do that now. We can crowdsource solutions. We really can. We have to think in new ways and not just think in two different opposite paradigms. We can do this. You follow?
Well, I do, but I'm afraid I just don't agree with the logic. Here we are, a nation of 300+ million people. Okay. And to believe that we individually and then collectively somehow will have a mass consciousness that will correct everything.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to. The reality is, right or wrong, whatever label it has, you have to have a political entity, a governmental entity in place. You're not talking anarchy.
I am no, sir. I'm not talking about. Look, I just got a thing in my thing that I have to go with a hard break. I really enjoy talking to you, and let's keep listening and talking. And in the long run, we'll get through talking this issue. Okay, my friend.
Fine. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, my friend. Bye bye.
Right. Bye bye.
Okay, let's take a brief look at our roadways. It is fairly clear out there at the moment. Only one accident to report on US 90 alternate, and that's westbound at Haram Clark in that area. It's a tiny bit of slow going areas, a little bit of stop and go on the Southwest Freeway outbound from 288 to Shepherd, and on Highway 6 on the west side of Houston. There's a bit of slow going from Richmond to Beechnut in that area. That's in both directions. But besides that, it is a very clear day since it is Christmas Eve. Let's take a look at our weather around town. It is currently 80 degrees and overcast skies here in the heart of Montrose. It feels like 83 degrees out there. In Galveston, it is a foggy 73 degrees. Livingston's an overcast 78. And Huntsville is an overcast 76 degrees. And what to expect in the next few days? Let's take a look. 60% chance of scattered thunderstorms throughout our area tonight, and through tomorrow. And tonight, expect dense fog in our areas to develop in a low of 71 degrees. Christmas Day should be a high of 82. So it'll be a mighty warm Christmas day for us. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you are listening to KPFT Houston 90.1 Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies.
Muchísimas gracias, amiga mía. Let's go to line number 2 with Mike. Mike, come on in. How are you doing?
To you.
Come on in, Mike.
Yes, I can appreciate what you're discussing. Let's get to the root of the problem. Okay.
Hello.
When blacks was brought to this country, you got 400 years of free labor, and Democrats or Republicans don't want to take the responsibility.
Sure. Turn your radio down, please, my friend. Can you turn your radio down? Turn your radio down, please, my friend.
I know to your friend.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have 400 years of free labor. And this how this country got It's wealth.
Right.
Now, when you conversating for why they brought up to give them the 40 acres and a mule, let them beat. You're not on even playing field. When you subsidize and you get every country around these financial packages to take care of their country. See, whether it be Democrat or Republican, they bought and paid for by special interests. Corporate welfare is alive and well, and conservatives don't ever want to seem to bring it up. Whenever I subsidize, you got an oil company, and I give you $20 million to bring your product to market. But you want to talk about a guy getting maybe $700 a month.
Okay, let me stop you right there because you made I want to stop you on an important point that you make, okay? I don't go into the argument of reparations and all of that because it usually is a non-starter with a whole lot of people. So I figure you handle things that you can quickly up front and then you go to the harder issues. But what you said is so important. 400 years of free labor and people having a 400-year start on a particular group does have an effect. You're absolutely correct on that. Now, how do you put that in a form that people understand it without an attack? It's the things that I work on and the things that I do. Okay, and there are a lot of ways to do this other than just saying, I want reparations for what was done all over those years. I agree,
but first white America has to acknowledge it.
Let me tell you something, okay? And look, you can. What I've learned as a political activist is as follows, and it goes this way. I can say as much as I want. You need to understand this, right?
Right.
And that gets me nowhere. Or I can work with you to let you tell yourself how to understand it. That is the direction that I do my activism from. It's not about telling you what you should do. It's for you to acknowledge a reality. And I think that works quite a bit better. Now, what I want to tell you is that you are absolutely correct. Yes, there's a. Let me tell you better. Forget about Black America for now. Let's go into Appalachian America because what happens is as follows. The majority of Americans are white. If I can go to Appalachia, a lot of white Americans can immediately associate themselves with Appalachia. Now, what am I trying to say with Appalachia? You take all the wealth. I mean, you take all the welfare and everything that goes into Appalachia. Yeah. And then you go ahead and compare all the welfare that's given to Exxon and all the welfare that is given to all these other corporations. It dwarfs it. Okay? What I've done with that example, if you notice one of the phrases I always use is when we get Appalachia, the ghettos, and the barrios together, we would have solved the problem. I can use Appalachia to show a section of America that they're being had by, and I hate to say it this way, but that they're being had by their own. And in seeing that can bring us all together, as weird as it may sound. But those are the areas that we have to go into. So yes, you're right about the 400 years. You're right about all the giveaways that occur in this country. But we have to have the narrative right so that the people that are currently indoctrinated by our system are receptive to listening to it. So, sir, anything else you want to add?
No, and I totally agree with you. We got to get them to sit at the table and listen to one another instead of fussing at one another.
Thank you very much, my brother. You have a good one, and you keep listening, keep calling. And folks, remember, KPFT.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. KPFT.org. Please go over there and send us your assistance to ensure that we stay on air. Right, Miss McCurchie?
That is so true, Alberto.
Well, thank you, my dear. And look here, you had some interest. I'm coming to you next, Valeska. But I just want to give Shannon a little quick time here to see if she has anything she wants to add quickly to the discussion.
Well, the interesting thing, I mean, it went in a lot of interesting directions I didn't see coming with this conversation. And so many of our listeners brought in really good points.
Right.
But if we go back to the actual traffic base of what you were observing and going back to the causes of these things, like the fact that we can't afford to live in the city. No longer are all of the workers able to afford to pay the rent in town. So now they're commuters, correct?
Right.
And so now it's the wear and tear on your vehicle. You're dependent on these oil industries, like Houston loves to make you dependent on it. But you have to have a car at that, so they have to have that overhead to be able to afford that vehicle. And any of that car damage or repairs that come upon from driving good 50 miles a day like I do. Yes.
You pay.
And so it's that, the amount of time that you're putting in. And what's interesting is because of our lack of transportation here, of mass transportation, buses don't drive where I live. So honestly, you have to have a car to get anywhere, to have a job, to be able to get there. Because if you wreck your vehicle and you don't have that any longer, you will lose your job.
Absolutely.
And so, but whenever I've been abroad, say in Ireland or in France, oh my gosh, it was so nice. And it felt like such a bonding being able to share a ride on either a train or on the underground, or as
communal.
they called them. Yes, very much so. I met some really interesting people along the way, or you got to read the newspaper, catch up, just kind of relax before you get into town. And it's just the fact that whenever I'm stuck in traffic, it's an ocean of cars, just taillights all around you, and it's one person per vehicle. It's isolating you.
We got to stop that.
Yes, it's weird. It's very strange, and it keeps you separate from each other. And, really, it would be so nice if we can have a way of sharing a ride together.
Well, Shannon, there are a lot of other points that you were bringing up in the green room that we have to talk about, but let's get back to the callers. But that's an important point that people need to keep in mind. Wear and tear on the car is the responsibility of Shannon when she goes to whatever corporation she goes to.
Yes.
And they get the benefit from her good deeds. Anyway, let's go, Valeska. Come on in. Line number 4. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right, Valeska. I got the tag, but then I'll come to you right after that. Tag, come on in real quickly, my friend.
Yeah, earlier it was nice hearing some other voices from people wondering how we could really expect the government to do some of these things for us, like us liberals expect.
Right.
And I just wanted to say that, when you look at healthcare, for example, healthcare administration by private companies are quite a bit higher than healthcare administration by the government.
Of course, let me stop you right there, because and the reason I'm stopping you there is because I need to make that point to people. Mathematics rules.
Yeah.
And profit is an inefficiency when it comes to healthcare. Remember that. Profit is an inefficiency in healthcare. But continue, my friend.
No, and the thing is a lot of people don't really, they look at the government and they see something, but they really don't know what it is.
Right.
And when you look at the economies of scale, I don't know if any of these people really know what economies of scale means, but the more you do of something, the cheaper it gets to do it. So if you have a single payer for the whole country and it's the federal government, then they're going to be able to provide health care cheaper than anybody, and because otherwise you got a bunch of these little pawns running around replicating services.
Right. Now look, and what I'm trying to tell folks, right, is the right has made a interesting type of argument against single payer that they try to let you forget math. It is our responsibility, my responsibility, your responsibility, Tag, and everybody else's responsibility, not to stuff this stuff in their faces. Okay, it is for them to understand it on their own. And how is that done is you ask them to present the two sides of the equation. And when they present the two sides of an equation, they will convince themselves and they would become some of your best advocates for these types of systems. But you have to allow them the space to do so. So that's the reason I take the tack that I take when you see me on this type of a program. All right, Tag?
The one gentleman that called in and said, the U.S. has got 350 million people, right?
Right.
When you have an economy of scale in one organization of 350 million people, it's got to be less than individual companies.
Exactly. So, Tag, you're right.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too, my brother.
Work,
you keep calling and you have your friends call. Get to KPFT.org and keep us busy. Okay, buddy?
Thanks, Tag.
Thanks.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Valeska, line number 4.
Hi, I was just calling to ask for your advice. I really try to spread the media out there and news that I hear. I'm a big fan of NPR. I listen to it every single day.
Uh-huh.
And the same sort of issues I run into is people saying that I'm being a downer.
Right.
And I completely understand that. Usually I'm not bringing the most happy news.
Right.
Although it's disheartening to hear people that are older than me say things like, oh, well, I don't like listening to the news because as soon as I hear one person died, I turn it off.
Right.
And so it's like one of those isolation things. I truly feel that we have so many distractions. Why not just distract yourself rather than listen to what's going around? And I just, I'm not really sure how to voice my opinion when I'm going to get that, like, with
Valeska,
that. And so the one other thing I can think is people just can't separate, like, to empathize instead of sympathize. They can't just, like, see it and be like, oh, this is a bad thing. They feel it, and then it becomes a burden to them.
I love the way you said that. Empathize, synthesize. Let me tell you something, Valeska. First of all, as far as it being a downer, right? It doesn't have to be a downer. I am not a downer. I try like hell not to be a downer at all.
But we like to be realistic.
But we are realistic, absolutely. And the thing that I think people love is when they feel like they have something that vested in it, right? And they feel like they can make a difference. My contention is that most Americans right now feel disengaged because they think they have no value, right? So my goal is to get people to embolden people to take their value, because I'm telling folks, right, if you're working, if you're driving a car, if you're doing something for this society, hell, you have a lot of value. You have a lot more value than you realize. So my thing is to empower people. When I'm bringing folks to, let's say, to KPFT or any other station, or trying to get them to visit my blogs, etc., I don't advertise my blogs as solely telling them the truth and telling them the things the way it is. That's not what I want. I advertise it as empowerment. I want them to be empowered to go out there and change the system to their liking. And when people start to feel like they are going to make a difference, they listen to you. They gravitate towards you. The fact that you stayed on this line waiting to be a part of this conversation tells me that you are empowered and you have what it takes to go out there and drag those people in, Valeska. So that's what you got to do, my dear friend.
I try. And I try to always make everyone feel respected in my arguments, because I feel disrespect is one of the huge reasons why no one wants to listen to the news.
Exactly. It's about respect. If people, they don't have to agree with you, but you respect them, they'll respect you in the long run. Not immediately, but in the long run. Anything else you want to add real quick, Valeska?
Just for everyone to have happy holidays.
Thank you very much, Valeska. Happy holidays to you as well, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's go to our last call. Gary, come on in.
Yeah, hey. You know, and I got something to say to that guy who tried to sound so measured and, so logical and everything. Mm-hmm. And he's really a right-wing ideologue. Let me just say this. Let me just make the case for the Great Society and for the New Deal.
Right.
The reality is the Great Society and the New Deal, and of course I'm reversing it chronologically,
right, but I know.
The reality is that those things they kept demand up. They kept demand stable in the United States. We didn't go through the periods of boom and bust because we had that. And all that. Let me just point out to you, if we hadn't done
a little more than 30 seconds before the outro music.
The GNP of the United States would be, $3, $4, $5 trillion less than it is right now. The country would be technologically degraded. We would be 5 to 10 years behind where we are technologically.
Gary, you're absolutely right, but I only have 7 seconds to give you. So give me a
I'll let you go. By the way, my condolences to you on your aunt there.
I really appreciate that, sir. Touches my heart.
You have a Merry Christmas.
You have one too. Folks, I really do appreciate your calls. I really do appreciate you. Listen, my right-wingers, my left-wingers, my liberals, my whomever you are, my anarchists, whoever you are. This is your show. You keep calling in. You keep listening. Let's talk, brothers. This is Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye and happy holidays.
Politics Done Right. Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.